Let's discuss about the 5 foods to purge from your kitchen forever. What if the biggest threat to your long-term health isn't some rare disease, but something hiding in plain sight on your kitchen shelves right now? Go ahead, take a look inside your pantry and your fridge. The truth is, many of the foods we eat every day are directly linked to one of the most feared diseases out there: cancer. This isn't about some new fad diet, this is a serious heads up. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the 5 types of food you should really consider clearing out of your kitchen for good. By the end, you'll have a simple, clear plan to lower your risk and take back some control over your health. Let's be real, cancer is something that worries all of us. In the United States, the lifetime risk of getting some form of it is shockingly high, nearly 40%. Now, we are always told that genetics play a part, and they definitely do. But study after study has shown that our lifestyle and diet are 2 of the biggest factors we can actually control. The problem: we are surrounded by food that wasn't designed for our health. It's designed for profit, a long shelf life, and to be so tasty you just can't stop eating it. Because of this, our kitchens are full of products that are working against our body's own defenses. These aren't just unhealthy foods that might make you gain a few pounds. We are talking about foods with ingredients that are scientifically recognized as cancer-causing. This isn't about making you feel guilty. It's about giving you the truth that the food industry often hides behind clever marketing and confusing labels. The danger is real, but so is your power to change it. It all starts with knowing what needs to go. So, let's open up those cabinets and get started. Section 1. The processed meat purge. First up on our purge list, processed meats. This covers all those convenient and tasty items that are staples in so many homes. Things like bacon, sausages, hot dogs, deli meats like ham and salami. You get the idea. If it's been preserved by smoking, curing, salting, or adding chemical preservatives, it's processed meat. The evidence here is rock solid. The World Health Organization's Cancer Agency has classified processed meat as a Group 1 carcinogen. To give you some perspective, that's the same category as tobacco smoke and asbestos. It means there is strong, conclusive proof that processed meat cause cancer. The main danger comes from preservatives, specifically nitrates and nitrites. When we eat them, our body can turn them into nasty compounds that damage the cells lining our bowel, which can lead directly to colorectal cancer. The link is so direct that studies show just a 50-gram portion of processed meat a day, that's only about 2 slices of ham or a single hot dog, increases your risk of colorectal cancer by about 18%. There's also strong evidence linking it to stomach cancer. The healthy alternative: getting rid of processed meat doesn't mean your food has to be boring. The fix is to switch to fresh, unprocessed proteins. Think fresh chicken and turkey, which aren't linked to increased cancer risk. Fish is another great option, and some studies even suggest it might lower your risk of liver and bowel cancer. If you love red meat, just buy it fresh from the butcher instead of prepackaged. For some plant-based power, try lentils, chickpeas, beans, and organic tofu. They are packed with fiber and protein, and make a fantastic, healthy swap for sandwiches and salads. Section 2. The ultra-processed food, UPF, purge. Next, we need to talk about a huge and sneaky category: ultra-processed foods, or UPFs. These aren't really food in the way our grandparents would recognize. They are industrial formulas. We are talking about packaged snacks, sugary cereals, sodas, and most frozen dinners. A good rule of thumb: if it comes in a crinkly package and has a list of ingredients you can't pronounce, it's probably a UPF. These products are loaded with sugar, unhealthy fats, and salt. And they've been stripped of good stuff like fiber and vitamins. But it gets worse. A major study in the British Medical Journal found that for every 10% increase in ultra-processed foods in someone's diet, their overall cancer risk went up by 12%. More recent studies confirm this. linking daily UPFs to a higher risk of not just cancer, but heart disease and early death. So what makes them so bad? UPFs often contain a cocktail of additives like emulsifiers and artificial sweeteners that can mess with the good bacteria in your gut. This can lead to chronic inflammation, which is a known trigger for cancer. Plus, the high heat processing they go through can create even more cancer-causing chemicals. They are also literally engineered to make you overeat, which fuels obesity, a major risk factor for at least 12 types of cancer. The healthy alternative, the solution here is actually pretty simple: get back to eating real food. Instead of a bag of chips, grab a piece of fruit or a handful of nuts. Swap sugary cereals for oatmeal with berries. Ditch the sodas for water, or sparkling water with a squeeze of lemon. And instead of a frozen dinner, try making a simple meal from scratch. When you cook your own food, you know exactly what's going into it, and you cut out all the hidden junk. Section 3, the alcohol purge. This third one might be tough for a lot of people to hear: alcohol. For years, we've heard this myth that moderate drinking is good for you. But when it comes to cancer, the science is brutally clear. Alcohol is a group 1 carcinogen, right up there with tobacco. The hard truth is, there is no amount of alcohol that is considered safe from increasing your cancer risk. Alcohol is directly linked to at least 7 types of cancer, including mouth, throat, esophagus, liver, breast, and colorectal cancer. Even light to moderate drinking is a problem. For instance, women who have just 1 drink a day have a noticeably higher risk of breast cancer than women who don't drink at all. How does it do the damage? When you drink alcohol, your body converts it into a chemical called acetaldehyde. That chemical is toxic, and it's a known carcinogen that can damage your cell's DNA. Alcohol also messes with your hormone levels, like estrogen, which is tied to breast cancer. And finally, it makes it harder for your body to absorb vitamins that help protect you from cancer in the first place. The healthy alternative, cutting back or cutting out alcohol, is one of the best things you can do for your health. You could explore the growing world of non-alcoholic drinks. There are some really good non-alcoholic beers and wines out there now. Try making your own mocktails with sparkling water, fresh fruit, and mint. If you're not ready to quit completely, start by having some alcohol-free days each week. And just being more mindful of how much you're drinking. Official US guidelines recommend that people who don't drink shouldn't start. And for those who do, it's best to limit it to 1 drink or less per day for women, and 2 for men. Section 4, the excess red meat purge. Number 4 on the list is red meat. But there's a really important distinction here: we're talking about eating too much of it. Red meat includes beef, pork, lamb, and goat. And while it has important nutrients like iron and B12, a high intake is a problem. The IRC classifies red meat as a group 2A carcinogen, which means it's probably carcinogenic to humans. This is mostly based on strong evidence linking a high red meat intake to colorectal cancer. But there are also connections to pancreatic and prostate cancer. One of the main theories involves a compound called heme. It's what gives red meat its color. When your body digests it, it can lead to the formation of the same kind of cancer-causing compounds we talked about with processed meats. One analysis showed that people who ate the most red meat had a 30% higher risk of colorectal cancer compared to those who ate the least. The healthy alternative, the key word here is moderation. Not necessarily cutting it out completely. A good guideline is to think of red meat as a side dish, not the main event. Limit it to just a few servings a week. Try having meatless Mondays, or other days where you focus on plant-based proteins. When you do eat red meat, pick leaner cuts. And always pair it with a big helping of fiber-rich vegetables, which can help offset some of the risk. Swapping red meat for chicken or fish a few times a week is another easy way to cut back. Section 5, the burnt and charred food purge. The last item on our purge list isn't a food. But what happens when we cook it, burnt and charred food? That crispy, blackened crust on a grilled steak. Or a piece of overdone toast might taste good, but it can contain some nasty cancer-causing chemicals. When you cook meat, beef, pork, fish, poultry at high temperatures like grilling or frying, it creates chemicals with some scary sounding names, like HCAs and PAHs. What you really need to know is that lab studies have shown these chemicals can cause changes in your DNA that may increase your cancer risk. These chemicals form when the meat is exposed to high heat and smoke. The longer and hotter you cook it, the more of them you get. The same thing can happen with starchy foods like potatoes or bread, which can form a chemical called acrylamide when cooked at high temps for too long. The healthy alternative, the key word here is moderation. Not necessarily cutting it out completely. A good guideline is to think of red meat as a side dish, not the main event. Limit it to just a few servings a week. Try having meatless Mondays or other days where you focus on plant-based proteins. When you do eat red meat, pick leaner cuts. And always pair it with a big helping of fiber-rich vegetables, which can help offset some of the risk. Swapping red meat for chicken or fish a few times a week is another easy way to cut back. Section 5. The burnt and charred food purge. The last item on our purge list isn't a food. But what happens when we cook it, burnt and charred food? That crispy, blackened crust on a grilled steak or a piece of overdone toast might taste good, but it can contain some nasty cancer-causing chemicals. When you cook meat, beef, pork, fish, poultry at high temperatures like grilling or frying, it creates chemicals with some scary sounding names, like HCAs and PAHs. What you really need to know is that lab studies have shown these chemicals can cause changes in your DNA that may increase your cancer risk. These chemicals form when the meat is exposed to high heat and smoke. The longer and hotter you cook it, the more of them you get. The same thing can happen with starchy foods like potatoes or bread, which can form a chemical called acrylamide when cooked at high temps for too long. The healthy alternative, don't worry, you don't have to give up your barbecue. You just have to cook smarter. Try using lower temperature cooking methods more often, like baking, roasting, or steaming. If you are going to grill, you can marinate your meat first, which helps create a protective barrier. You can also pre-cook meat in the microwave for a minute or two before grilling to reduce the time it spends on high heat. And, of course, if you do end up with burnt bits on your food, just make sure you cut them off before you eat. So, that's our list: processed meats, ultra-processed foods, alcohol, excess red meat, and burnt foods. But knowing this is only half the battle. The other half is doing something about it. So here's your challenge: don't put it off. After this, go to your kitchen and pick just one category. Find one thing: a pack of hot dogs, a box of sugary cereal, a bottle of soda, and just get rid of it. That one small act is your first step. If you found this helpful and want to keep learning how to protect your health, please subscribe and turn on notifications. And consider sharing this with people you care about. Before you make any big changes to your diet, especially if you have a health condition, it's always a good idea to talk to a healthcare professional or a registered dietitian. In conclusion, trying to take control of your health can feel like a huge task. But it doesn't have to be.